Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Sethatina Newman Live. I am your host, Sethatina. Last week, I told you that this week was going to be interesting. I hope that I meet your expectations for what I consider to be interesting. And our topic today is the cabinet meeting of May 1st, 2025, and what is the truth? So, unfortunately, I was not able to listen to the whole 2 hours of the cabinet meeting because I was listening and decided, you know what? I'm not going to remember everything. So, like I've stated in the past, I got out my trusty pad, pen and paper, and I wrote things down. But to make sure that what I was writing down was accurate and is what was said, I rewound, I read what I wrote, listened to what they said, corrected if necessary, and then carried on. Beside that, I have a life to live outside of listening to any misinformation that might have been presented at the committee, to the committee members, and to the American people. I will be traveling soon. I have doctor appointments to attend in preparation for a surgery that I'm having. I have students to prepare for tutoring. I have a house to maintain. I don't have a staff to prepare my dinner and to clean my house. Most of America doesn't. I have to do those things. So I wasn't able to listen to the full 2 hours, but I would like to give you some information on the 30-ish minutes or so that I did listen to. And if any of you have listened to the full 2 hours, God bless you. I'm hoping to listen to the rest of it, but we'll see what happens. So my first bout of information that I want to present to you is that President Trump stated that $8 trillion have come into the U.S. in the first 2 months of his presidency. He's not counting, January, because everybody had to get used to what was going on. Okay, I will definitely give him that. It would definitely take me a month to get used to being in the White House. But wait, he's been there before. So not sure what he needed to get used to. Maybe he was giving his cabinet members an opportunity because, most of them have never been in politics either. Like, I've never been in politics. So yeah, I would need that month. He was being generous in giving them that month. But regardless, he's stated that the U.S. has received $8 trillion so far in the first 2 months of his presidency. According to CNBC, the Department of Customs and Border Protection collected more than $500 billion under Trump's latest tariffs, and that was as of April 16th, 2025. 500 million doesn't quite make 8 trillion. But let's continue on. Trump has repeatedly said that the United States is taking in $2 billion per day from tariffs. The CBP says the average is $250 million a day was collected, even during a glitch that they had that impacted freight that was already on the water. So President Trump's stating that, number one, we have $8 trillion that have come in. Numbers aren't quite up there. And has repeatedly said that, we're receiving $2 billion per day from tariffs, including revenues directly resulting from his so-called reciprocal tariffs. The most recent data released Monday by the Treasury Department shows that the department's daily statement of total deposits listed under customs and certain excise taxes was 305 million. All tariffs are collected by U.S. Customs at the point of entry. Even 305 million is nowhere near 8 trillion. And I double checked, he did say $8 trillion. So numbers aren't quite right, Mr. President. So we continued on. And again, he was talking about how money's coming into the United States, and he turned it over to the Secretary of Commerce. And the Secretary of Commerce talked about a new chip company coming to Arizona. Awesome. So there is actually a company that we now have proof that is coming into the United States. So, according to the Secretary of Commerce, a chip company from Taiwan is purchasing land in Arizona. He stated, they will be spending $165 billion to purchase the land, build a $50 billion building, hiring 4,000 employees to build this facility, plus 20,000 more over time. Okay. That's what he stated in his little spiel to the cabinet members. Sorry. So I decided to look up technology companies in Arizona. What's going on? I found an article by the Arizona Technology Council. They should know something about what's going on in the technology world in Arizona. That TSMC, the company from Taiwan, is coming in to Phoenix, Arizona. Fantastic. Yes, something was stated accurately. Only it's $65 billion investment in multiple fabrication facilities in Phoenix, and it's a game changer. It's not $165 billion. It's $65 billion. That darn one disappeared someplace. So, and this promises to bring more than 6,000 high-tech jobs and spurring the creation of thousands more in supporting industries. Fantastic. So he actually had his numbers a little off. So yeah, it's not 165 billion, but it's more than 2,000 people or 4,000 people. So hey, you know, where the numbers don't quite match up, it's good that that many people are going to be hired for working in this company. With the focus on producing cutting-edge chips, TSMC's facilities are projected to come online in 2025, signaling a significant economic boost. So hey, I am very happy about that. Complementing TSMC's efforts, Intel is investing $20 billion to expand its Chandler facility, adding 9,000 new jobs. So again, more jobs than what the Secretary of Commerce stated, but the building's not $50 billion. They're actually expanding another company, another facility, by $20 billion. So still not sure where $165 billion is coming from, and not sure about the $50 billion building that he was talking about as well. Supporting this ecosystem is Amcor Technology, which is building a $2 billion advanced package facility in Peoria. Meanwhile, Arizona State University's establishment of Southwest Advanced Prototyping Hub cements the state's role as a leader in the semiconductor research and development. I am all kinds of happy about new business coming in, about providing jobs for the American people, about bringing that kind of business and that expertise here to the United States so that we don't have to import the chips to go into our telephones, go into our TVs, go into our electronics. Okay, I think that is sensational. And they also said that the overall role of TSMC is absolutely wonderful. The numbers, and I'm saying this, that the numbers of the secretary stated are slightly off. And, you know, as I've said, TSMC coming in is fantastic for the United States. My whole thing is, how about not exaggerating and simply stating the truth? Because the truth, in this case, is awesome. Why does he have to make up a number like $165 billion that TSMC is bringing in? Okay, or that they're creating a $50 billion building when it's $20 billion to expand a current building. Now, I'm happy he had the numbers wrong for the number of jobs. Okay, I'm happy he had that wrong. More people that we can get out there and get working, the better. Now, President Trump chimed back in and stated, they are the biggest chip company in the world. They are building a $50 billion building, building their own electric. They will be their own utility company. I told them they could plug into the existing grid, but that would probably cause more problems. Or they could become their own utility. So that is what they are going to do. They have 14,000 people. They expect 40,000 more people to build their plant and to employ 20,000 for the rest of time. Again, the Secretary of Commerce had his numbers a little bit off. Maybe President Trump is a little closer to the number of people that they're going to hire, but I think he's still off on the monetary value of what they're going to be spending. So hopefully we will get that many people employed by this company. And like I said, I think it's sensational that we're getting that kind of business here in the United States. So, as I said, I wasn't able to listen to the whole 2 hours. But there were a few other people that I listened to. And Mr. Hegseth, the Secretary of Defense, is one of them. And I found it interesting that he is taking credit for military recruitment being up. When I researched this, I found that last spring of 2024, the Army put out new advertising, new recruitment material to try to bring in new recruits into the Army. They spent $2 billion to overhaul their whole system. Plus, they put out a pre-boot camp program to help get the individuals who wanted to join the military up to physical and mental standards to be able to join the military and apply and get through boot camp and pass the physical that is required to get into boot camp, get into any of the military branches. That in itself says something about our societal norms, where physical education nowadays isn't important. It's not being pushed. I know that even when I was in high school, we had 4 years of physical education. They don't have that anymore. They have a semester once a year, maybe. No, I had all year long, 4 years of high school. I had physical education. So the military, the Department of Defense, had to actually put together a program, a camp program, to get individuals who want to register, who want to become soldiers, who want to join our military and serve our country. They have to get them through physical boot camp before they can even join the military boot camp, because they can't pass the physical. They can't pass the mental test that's required. I took the ASVAB. I passed it. Okay. I passed it actually to go into mechanics. I never studied mechanics in school, but I could do mechanics. I could have done clerical, and I could have done medical. Okay. So why do we actually have to have recruits go to a boot camp so that they can pass the physical and the mental tests required to become a recruit? So as far as our recruiting numbers being up since President Trump became president, not necessarily his doing. It's not because President Trump is now president, because they were already up last year by 15%. They had improved their recruiting numbers. And that's just the Army. Marines found that they were at 12%. Then they did not have a report for Navy or Air Force. But the Army and the Marines had already improved in 2024 over that of 2023. President Trump wasn't the president then. And those reports were as of October of 2023. So he wasn't even elected at that time. So once again, the cabinet members are putting information out that is slightly misleading. Yes, recruitment is up. No, it is not because of President Trump. Recruitment was up because of the programs put in place by the Army to get recruits into the service last year, not this year. Another person that I listened to was the Secretary of Transportation. He had a lot of information. I actually have 2 pages of notes just from him. But the 2 things that stood out the most for me were, 1, pulling back funding from university research regarding, quote, more equitable transportation and sustainable systems projects that use data and public opinion to inform policy and infrastructure technology benefiting diverse communities, including women and non-gender conforming people. Then saying that this was just a waste of money. Okay, so let me discuss this one first. Most research studies are based on surveys, public opinion, and the data that comes from those surveys and public opinion. So I don't know why he thought that format was a little off, because that's where you're going to get your information. I took a research class in college. That's what I had to do. Give out surveys, take that information, put it into the bar graph or the bell curve or whatever system I was using at that time, and determine what my data told me. That's how research works. Now, the other part of this is the diverse groups, the diverse communities, including women and non-gender conforming people. What does it matter if they're non-gender conforming people, or if it's women, or if it's communities with people with disabilities who have to work and try to get to work but aren't able to drive? Is it our disabled veterans? Is it, who knows, single parents, not just single mothers, single parents, period. What does it matter what the diverse community was? The research is needed to find out what kind of sustainable transportation infrastructure is needed so that those individuals, so those communities can get to and from where they need to go. Okay? Not everybody has a car. Not everybody can afford a car. So they walk or they take public transportation. Well, if they have to get to their child from work and have to get to their child's school, how are they going to get there? How are they going to get that child to a doctor? How are they going to get to and from a grocery store? That's what these research studies look at. That's what these research studies try to get information for, to see where the system is lacking, so that we can make sure all of our American people who live here in the United States, all our American workers can get to where they need to go. Not all of us are benefit from having a car. Some of us don't benefit from having a car because we're worried about driving. Okay. I will use me as an example. I now drive, yes, but it took me until I was 23 and had no way to get to college. My carpool buddy, she was graduating before I did. So I had no way of getting to college. I had no choice but to learn how to drive. Luckily, my mom and dad, actually, it wasn't my mom and dad, my grandfather, upon passing, willed his car to my brother and I. So I had a car that way, and I had to learn how to drive. I had no choice. Okay. Some people aren't that lucky. They may have to learn how to drive, but their fear may take over. They may have to learn how to drive, but maybe they don't have a grandfather who could will them a car. So there are issues in everybody owning a car. Not everybody can. So yes, studies on transportation are necessary. And who's going to do those studies? Another federal agency that doesn't currently exist. So we're going to create it like Doge and just pay them out of taxpayer money because, we need another government agency. Or supplement a university and have those students have real life experiences doing the research so that they can then get jobs at other locations, other non-federally regulated locations, and do research because they've already done real research that they have that experience for. I don't know. Couple things in there. The system needs to be researched. Diverse communities need to be accounted for, and real world experience for individuals in universities. 3 things that are beneficial for the research monies that the Secretary of Transportation is now taken away from the universities on just this one research project. The other thing that I found interesting that he talked about was that we are 3,000 air traffic controllers short in our towers throughout the United States. Well, that might have something to do with why we've had so many airplane crashes. He's in the process of trying to talk with the unions to convince or bribe, or just really try to convince current controllers who are at retirement age to stay on longer. And he has some kind of plan, which he did not talk about, to get more butts in the seats at the Oklahoma school for air traffic controllers. Not quite sure how he's going to do that either. But in the process, they're also going to put in a whole new system for the air traffic controllers to learn, while trying to keep the retirees, trying to keep them in until they can get the new people trained on the old system, because the new system isn't up yet, but then they're going to have to retrain the new controllers on the new system that hasn't been implemented yet, or even created yet. And in the process, he's going to work with the Department of Labor and, this is funny, the Department of Education to make sure that the new air traffic controllers get the training and education that they need to be productive and strong controllers. Wait a minute. Isn't the Board of Education being eliminated? I wonder how that's going to work. How is he going to get the Board of Education to help him train and make sure that the new air traffic controllers have the right training if there is no Board of Education? We'll have to see what happens with that. So, while, like I said, that was only 30 minutes of the cabinet meeting, I kind of can't wait to hear what's going to happen in the next hour and a half that I haven't listened to yet. I encourage all my viewers to at least listen to the information, then determine if you think you should do some fact checking yourself. It's difficult to determine what's being said truthfully and what's being said to try and pump up President Trump. Like I said, the stuff in Arizona, hey, I am all for that. It's fantastic. And I hope more companies come in. But I'd really like to hear the truthful information, not the exaggerated information from that. So until we meet again, thank you for listening. Stay safe, stay aware, and have a great week. Thank you.